After faking a surrogacy application, my sister ended up pregnant. What I discovered next turned everything upside down. Subscribe for more Watching Stories videos. My sister, Emily, had always wanted to be a mother. She and her husband, Tom, had been trying to conceive for years but had no success. Countless fertility treatments, doctor visits, and heartache later, they were finally faced with the devastating reality that Emily couldn't carry a child herself. When she approached me about being a surrogate, I wasn't completely surprised. We had always been close, and I knew how much she longed for a baby. But I had my doubts. "I need you to think about it," she said, her voice wavering as we sat in my living room. "I know it's a lot to ask, but you're my last hope." Her desperation was clear, and my heart ached for her. I agreed to at least look into it. I wasn't saying yes, but I wasn't saying no either. I needed time to think it through. It wasn't just about carrying a baby. It was about putting my life on hold for almost a year, with all the physical and emotional implications that came with being a surrogate. Emily seemed to understand and didn't pressure me, at least at first. Weeks went by, and I didn't bring it up. I wasn't ready to commit, and Emily sensed my hesitation. Then one day, she called me in a frenzy, saying she had found a surrogacy agency that would handle everything for us. "I've already filled out most of the application," she said quickly. "I just need a few more details from you." "Wait, what?" I replied, feeling a knot form in my stomach. "Emily, I haven't even agreed to do this yet." "I know," she insisted, "but I thought it would be helpful to get a head start, just in case." Her urgency seemed off, but I let it slide for the sake of our relationship. I gave her some information reluctantly, and she submitted the application. That was when things took a strange turn. She told me that the agency was moving fast and had already scheduled some initial medical evaluations. I didn't remember agreeing to anything, and I felt like I was being pushed into a decision that wasn't entirely mine to make. Then, a few weeks later, Emily dropped a bombshell. "I'm pregnant," she announced during a family dinner, her voice filled with a mix of joy and relief. The whole room went silent. I was stunned. How could she be pregnant? Hadn't they said she couldn't conceive naturally? My parents started crying tears of joy, congratulating her and Tom, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. After dinner, I pulled Emily aside. "How did this happen?" I asked bluntly. "You told me you couldn't get pregnant." She hesitated for a moment, then shrugged. "We kept trying," she said with a nervous laugh. "I guess it was a miracle." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But there was something in the way she avoided eye contact, the way her hands fidgeted when she spoke. The entire situation felt off. For days, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I decided to call the surrogacy agency myself, just to get some clarification on the supposed application we had submitted. That's when the pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place. The agency had no record of an application under my name. There had never been any evaluation scheduled. When I pressed the representative for details, she confirmed that no one had even submitted a partial application for me as a potential surrogate. I felt a chill run down my spine. If Emily hadn't submitted a real application, then what was going on? Subscribe for more Watching Stories videos. I confronted her the next day, refusing to let her deflect the conversation. "There was no surrogacy application, Emily," I said, my voice trembling with anger and betrayal. "You lied to me." "Why?" For a moment, she just stood there staring at me, her face pale and her lips parted as if she was struggling to find the words. "Okay, fine," she finally admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I faked the application. But it's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I demanded, my patience wearing thin. "Why would you lie to me like that?" She took a deep breath, then confessed, "I was desperate. I knew you wouldn't agree to be a surrogate, so I thought if I made it seem like everything was already in motion, you'd go along with it. I didn't know what else to do." I was speechless. The betrayal cut deep. She had used my love for her to manipulate me into something I hadn't even agreed to, but that wasn't the end of it. "And what about the pregnancy?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Is that real?" Emily's face turned ashen, and she took a step back. "Yes, "But it's not Tom's," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's from a donor. I went to a clinic on my own. I didn't tell Tom." It felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She had gone behind her husband's back, faked a surrogacy plan, and gotten herself impregnated with donor sperm, all to have the baby she had always wanted. "Does he know?" I asked, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "No," she replied, shaking her head. "He thinks it happened naturally. I wanted a baby so badly. I thought that if I could make it happen, he wouldn't care how." The shock and betrayal I felt for Tom's sake was overwhelming. He was living in a lie, celebrating a pregnancy he thought was a miracle while his wife kept the truth hidden. I didn't know what to do or whether to tell him. Part of me felt like he deserved to know the truth, but another part of me worried that exposing the secret would destroy their marriage and any chance the child would have of a stable family life. In the end, I confronted Emily one last time and gave her an ultimatum. She had to come clean to Tom, or I would. She resisted at first, begging me not to say anything, but I held firm. I wasn't going to keep her secret for her. She needed to face the consequences of her deception. Reluctantly, she agreed. A few days later, she confessed everything to Tom. I wasn't there to see it, but the fallout was massive. Tom was furious and heartbroken. Their marriage was left hanging by a thread, and the trust they once had was completely shattered. Emily's desperation had led her to deceit, and now she was paying the price. As for me, I kept my distance. I couldn't look at my sister the same way, and I needed time to process everything. It took months before our relationship began to mend, and even then, there was a barrier between us that had never been there before. The whole ordeal taught me a harsh lesson about the lengths people will go to get what they want, and how even the deepest bonds can be strained by secrets and lies. Emily eventually had her baby, and Tom stayed, albeit with reservations. They were working through therapy and trying to rebuild, but it was clear that things would never be the same. The truth had turned everything upside down, and now we were all left picking up the pieces. Subscribe for more Watching Stories videos.